up the chat. Chat is up. Alright. So today I am going to paint the Primaris Captain out of the Indomitus box. I've already done all the armor on him. Just as a time saver, because that takes quite a bit. So I figured I'd get that done. That process is first a base coat of the Fang, followed by a layer coat of Rust Gray, then a panel line wash of Agrax Earthshade, and then an edge highlight of Fenrisian Gray. All that is already done, just for a time saver. And I'm going to hopefully do the rest of him right now. I'm going to start with the skeleton on his shield, because I'm going to try a new combination of colors to see if I can get this bone to look pretty cool. So I'm going to start with Wildwood Contrast. It's a dark brown. It doesn't have to be this contrast color. You could probably use any dark brown, and it would probably come out the same, assuming this comes out. And I'm just going to coat the entire thing in this dark brown contrast paint. To the entire skeleton, rather. Not the entire shield. Just the skeleton. Just make sure to get it all in all the little cracks and crevices and his nose holes and all this. So this is going to be our undercoat and also our shadows, so we want to make sure that it gets absolutely everywhere. I'm going to do all this bit of parchment he has wrapped around himself. I'm going to do that also in this same color. Get it all base coated. Oh, and I was going to mention at the beginning, but I kind of forgot. There's a surprise. It's not really that big of a surprise, but there is a little surprise at the end of this stream. So if you want to see the surprise, stick around. Or, just come back in the last 5 minutes. Whatever floats your boat. I'd like you to stick around for the whole time, don't get me wrong. But, I guess I understand the concept of things being more important than this stream. Not a lot of things more important, but there's got to be a couple at least. Alright, so that's the entire skeleton coated in this dark brown. I'm going to have to set that to dry for a bit before we do the next color. So I'm just going to do his hand here that's sitting up on the top of the shield. That did not get done when I did the rest of the armor. Just going to do that real quick. This is, like I said before, the Fang, followed by Rust Gray, followed by Agrax Earthshade, followed by Fenrisian Gray. Starting with the Fang. And I'm deciding... No, I think the shield is going to be completely gold. So I will not do it in blue. And I guess I'll base coat that while I'm letting things dry. So I'm going to base coat that with Retributer Armor. I'm just going to base coat everything that we haven't already painted on the shield. I'm going to try to get around this purity seal, but if I happen to hit it, I'll come back and put another color on it later. Just making sure I get under the edges of this skeleton without getting the skeleton himself, since we did just color him brown. And I wanted to mention also on this stream that kind of going along with the theme of this series, which is supposed to be like, you know, painting can be easy. You don't have to make it hard. I would just like to say that all this painting I have done on stream has been done with paintbrushes that have come out of a $4 pack, I believe, from Walmart. You get like 12 brushes for $4. So, you know, you can go to like Artis Opus or Squidward Miniatures now or all this stuff and get $70, $80 paintbrushes, but you don't need them. Obviously, at least I would hope, they are far superior in quality to these brushes. However, they're a luxury, not a necessity. So just gonna finish base coating the shield here. I'm probably gonna grab the other bits that need to be gold while I'm here. Like the iron halo looking thing up top. And stuff like that. And I'm sure, going back to the paintbrushes, I'm sure there's research, or I don't know about research, but I'm sure there's facts about how a better brush will make you a better painter, blah, blah, blah. I just don't care. I don't want to spend $70 on a brush. I want to spend $4 on 12 brushes. And then when the brush dies, I want to throw it away. I don't want to have to think about it. So that's the gold base coat. I said I was going to get the other gold stuff, and then I closed the paint. So let's reopen the paint. Still in Retributer Gold. And let's do at least this up here. I think the rest of the gold, what I was thinking about being gold, I think I'm going to make that the bronze color. So we'll come back with that after this. So just going to get this iron halo, which clearly I guess won't be iron on this guy. Unless there's such a thing as gold iron. Maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe there is in the 41st millennium anyway. Suppose you could always take a can of spray paint to anything. I assume they still have spray paint in the 41st millennium. Seems like an invention you'd want to keep around. Alright, that's that. Now I'm going to switch to the bronze. And I'm going to do all the other metallic details in that. Most of them anyway. I'm going to use Brass Scorpion for this. Walmart brand isn't that bad, actually. I do the same thing. Heck yeah. Not the only crazy one. Alright, so I'm going to get the Aquila on his chest. I'm going to get... what else am I going to do besides this Aquila? I guess I'm going to get the knee pad. I'm going to get that stuff over here. Probably his backpack detail. And that'll be about it, I think. He is a captain, and he would be the highest ranking officer in this box. At least I assume. So he'll be pretty fancy. Maybe a Judicar would outrank him, but I doubt it. I feel like a Judicar is kind of like a chaplain. More of a side grade than an upgrade. Fool's Gold is technically iron. Well, that's good to know. There you go. Good to know indeed. So just going to get all... I'm going to include the scroll with this. I don't think this is an actual scroll. I think it's just molded as part of this decoration. good. I'm going to get his sword hilt. There's a lot of bronze right in this one area. But because he's a fancy character, I think I'll let it slide this time. Alrighty. Leprechaun series. I am not familiar with the Leprechaun series. But if they're telling you about Fool's Gold is actually iron, then, why not? Get the base of his sword. The pommel, I guess that would be called. Someone who's an expert on swords can, of course, correct me. Pretty sure it's the pommel, though. It's my world now, so if it's not a pommel, it's a pommel in his world. That's all that matters. Alright, that's done with that. Now I have a decision to make. I could do the inking on the tabard and stuff, or I could do the silver. I think I'll do the inking first, but actually, our skeleton is dry enough that we can do the next step of him. So we're going to do some Steel Legion drab. And we're basically going to overbrush the skeleton completely with the Steel Legion drab. And what overbrushing means is not trying to cover the base coat completely, just laying paint across every one of the raised pieces, but with a full coat of paint, not just a dry brush. Just going to do that over all the bones, his head. It's interesting that this skeleton has an eye carved into it. Would think that it would have an H carved into it for heretic or something, but I don't know, maybe this guy's carving up inquisitors and putting them on his shield. Sounds a tad heretical, but who am I to judge? I'm going to do the same thing with these parchment rolls here. This, because this is such a big area, this is more like just straight painting, but I'm not covering all the darker bits underneath. So we still have the depth of shadows. Warwick Davis plays an ancient evil leprechaun in one of the worst horror movie series ever. Davis being the best part. Well, yeah, I can't imagine a movie where he isn't the best part. I'm so happy you just paint from the pot, it makes me not feel bad. Perfect. That's the goal, man. Any kind of painting you want to do, you do it. Unless your goals are win the Golden Demon and paint straight from the pot, you can pretty much accomplish whatever you want with any style you want. Maybe Demon Rich could paint straight from the pot and win a Golden Demon. Oh, sorry. Before I keep talking, we're using Wraithbone now. And we're going to go over every little bone with this Wraithbone. See what I did there? Bone on the Wraithbone. Alright. And we're just going to touch each bone with our paintbrush. And we're painting with what's called the bubble. I don't know if I'll be able to get this on camera. But you can kind of see that there's, if I rinse my brush off, first of all, it's a terrible on my brush, so it's curving. But you can see that the tip is quite small. But then when I put paint on it, get on there. the tip is now much larger than the bristles originally were. And this is called painting with the bubble. And I'm painting with the bubble of paint that's on the end of the brush. And because I actually don't know the science exactly, but I'm guessing that the surface tension of that bubble wants to break so easily that it will release the paint from it with almost no pressure by touching it to the model. And that will allow us to get paint on all these tiny little things, bones in this case, without actually putting the physical bristles of the brush on the miniature. And what that does for us is when you put bristles directly on the miniature, you can, if you aren't a wizard, if you aren't a master painter, you can accidentally spread the paint out as your brush pushes in too far. And so this means we don't actually touch the model with the brush, we touch the model with paint only. And so it becomes much, 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 much harder to mess it up. Capillary action. Yeah, that sounds right. I think of kind of like an ink pen. Yeah, sort of that similar kind of thing. And so I'm just going to go along and not paint the miniature, basically. Up here on the skull, I will actually paint because it's a larger, flatter surface, and it's okay if I spread the paint out a little bit. Not a big deal. Do that, and then I'll go back to painting with the bubble for his fingers. The one problem that painting with the bubble can give you, at least for me, is it's the same reason why I'm not good at drawing on a tablet, like connected to a computer, is there's no feedback. When I draw with a pencil, I get the feedback. I know how hard I'm pushing. I know where the pencil tip physically is because of the feedback that's coming from the paper back into the pencil and up into my hand. But when I draw on the computer or with the bubble, because there's no pressure being applied, there's no feedback going back into my hand. And so you do have to be careful that your hand-eye coordination has to be very good so that you get the paint where you want it. And I can do it successfully with the bubble painting technique. I cannot successfully do it on the computer. That's a whole nother wizardry level. Of course, I'm not a very good painter, and drawer in real life anyway, so that might not be helping things. Just gonna get the basic gist of this skeleton here. Get some more of this parchment. And then get this big old chunk of parchment in the middle here. Alright. And that will do. From up close, the skeleton looks a little funky. He's got, well, he has literal contrast paint on him, but he also has literally too much contrast. However, when he's far away, not going to matter. When he's 3 feet away, he's going to look like a skeleton. And that's all that counts. I'm not trying to win a competition. I'm trying to apparently lose every 40k game I play. But I digress. So I'm going to switch to Abaddon Black now. And I'm just going to do the lining of the shield. And I'll probably grab the other black details while I'm at it, which will include the handle of his bolt pistol, the handle of his sword. I'm sure there's another word. Grip? Is that what you call the handle of a sword? A grip? I have no idea. And then I feel like I've painted a lot of these guys now, and I feel like there's another black detail on them somewhere, but I am drawing a blank at the moment, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I know one of you guys knows what the handle of a sword is called. I'm sure you own one. Someone has to own one. Be like, yeah, I hung Aragorn's sword on my wall, and the thing he holds onto is called the... And then you tell me. Alrighty. The hilt. Holy crap. The hilt. That's what it is. Well done, sir. Well done. Alright. We got a little bit messy there. That's okay, because we're going to come back and do the rest of this. Sort of forgot about that part. I was trying to clean up my mess that doesn't need to be cleaned up. I think the pommel is the base of the thing that like attaches on the bottom. But I don't know that for sure. You don't own any swords, what the heck? Why not? What if there's an uprising? How will you be prepared? I know you're from San Francisco, and so you're not maybe familiar with uprisings. But let me tell you, you're in Georgia now. They got a good old history of uprisings. You gotta be ready, man. Well, I guess, fine. Whatever. That works too. Alright, that's the border of the shield done. Just move the shield a little bit. And I'm going to do the hilt of his sword. And the gun handle. That would be called the grip. I do know that. Are you from Los Angeles? I thought you were from San Francisco. Whatever, it's the same thing. I prefer blades to guns. Much more interesting apocalypse without bullets. I agree, man. I agree. Alright, that's the black done. I think I will move to the silver now. No, I won't. I lied. I'm gonna wraithbone over a couple more things here, and then I will do the inking on the parchment. So I'm just gonna wraithbone right back over all this stuff here. This down here. Oh, I forgot to have to highlight this stuff. So I'll do that also. Paint that back in. Paint this back in. Alrighty. Oh, that's a belt. Just make sure I got all the purity seals. And I did. Alright, let that dry for a second. And I think I will do... I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now, to be honest. I guess I'll just do the inking, and I'll move slowly on the parts I just did. So I'm going to use, for this inking, I'm going to use Agros Dunes as soon as I locate it. Sure, it's right here in front of my face. Yep, there it is. Agros Dunes Contrast. I'm going to put this on all the parchment and tabard area. I'm going to put this on pretty thick because I want to be able to come back after this is dry and do an overbrush highlight layer. And then really, I think we just have like 3 or 4 more colors, and this guy will be done. I might be overestimating or underestimating, but I don't think so. Maybe 5 or 6. But even that is not bad. Got a little bit of ink on this guy's legs. I'm just going to grab it with a wet paintbrush. Do these tabards over here, or rather these parchments. I assume they're purity seals, but there's no seal, so who knows. Do that one, and this one, and this one, and the back of this one. Oh, and then I have to get the one around his arm. Again, there's no seal on this part. Oh no, I lied. There is a seal on that part. It's right here. I'm just going to go, even though it's blue, I'm just going to go over it with this color. And with the overbrush layer, we'll never know the difference. Just save me a little step there. Alright. Save me from having to go back in, get the white out again, and so on and so forth. Alright, that's all of that. Yes. Now I'm going to go into the silver. I'm going to go into Iron Breaker here. I'm going to do all the remaining metal bits in this color. Hourglass on the skeleton here. I'm going to do the halo on the skeleton in silver. Alright, there's that. I'm going to grab all these little beads, prayer beads, whatever they are, here. And then, of course, I'm going to get the hilt of the sword, or the hilt of the sword. No, not the hilt of the sword. The blade of the sword. First, I'm going to get the belt buckle really quick. We can paint around that pretty easily with the belt color, so I'll just do that now. And the little loop at the end here. Just do that. And then I will grab this prayer sensor, whatever it might be. Grab that. And then the blade of the sword. Make sure the silver on the sword is fully spread out and even. Good. And then I think that will do it for our silver detail. The tactical marine better be on that shield. Oh, don't worry. He's on that shield and he is loving life. Absolutely loving life. Being the hero the Imperium deserves. Alrighty. What am I going to do next? I think I'll do the back of the shield, just for fun. I've been doing these power things, like the shield, with Magos Purple. I'm just going to leave the white undercoat that's there, and then coat the back in a heavy coat. And take it off the miniature. Make it easier. And a heavy coat of Magos Purple, just to give it a glow like it's humming with power. It's not the greatest looking technique, but it gets the point across, and it gets your models done and out the door. And that really is the key. Something I've learned commission painting is that, well, obviously unrelated to commission painting, but you're always harder on yourself, on your own art, than everyone else is. And that's one thing down to politeness, where in our society we generally value being polite, and you don't want to be mean to someone and say their art sucks. But also, I think you're just willing to be more critical of yourself than of other people. But what I've learned doing commissions is that most people who I'm doing commissions for can't paint as well as me, or don't paint at all. Obviously, because otherwise they'd be doing it. And so you don't necessarily have to go to huge lengths to make something look perfect. You just have to make it look good from their point of view. And if you can do that, you're all set. I'm actually going to stick him on his base, because he popped off this little helper base I had earlier. I'm just going to pop him on his base that I made earlier today. It'll scratch that up a little bit, but nice little Necron rotting in the snow there. Just going to put him back on here. Maybe. On a good day I am. There we go. That ought to do it. Excellent. Alright, and then I think I am going to do the belts. And with the belts, I'm going to use Gorthor Brown. This color really should be on every miniature you paint. It's the greatest color that Games Workshop makes. And if you disagree, well, you're wrong. I like to think, Bob Ross always used to say, it's your world, you do what you want. But I'd like to think, if he were still around today, he'd say, do what you want, as long as you include Gorthor Brown. And so since Bob Ross said it, it must be correct. So I'm just going to get all the belts here, and then the pistol holster. Then we're going to do the Nuln Oil wash that's going to hit a lot of our colors all at once. And then we'll go back and highlight those colors. Chuck some red in the eyeballs and on the purity seals, and I think we'll call it a day. And then, of course, we still have our surprise coming up at the end of the stream. Again, no one might actually care about this surprise except me. But no matter. I'm calling it a surprise. We're doing it. We're going to do it live. Literally. Alright. I'm just going to dot some silver in the eyeballs. Guess I've been living life wrong this whole time. Sorry, man. Gotta get more Gorthor Brown in your life. So I'm just dotting some silver in the eyeballs so that I can put the red in there later. It'll give me a good solid base for that red contrast paint. Alright, now I'm going to do the Nuln Oil. If I can find my bottle of Nuln Oil, I'm sure it's like right in front of me and I'm missing it. It's here somewhere. For sure. At least I thought. Alright. Who stole my Nuln Oil? Who did it? I know one of you did. Wow, it's really gone. Alright, I'll use my barely anything left bottle. Because I don't know where my full bottle went. I walked off somewhere. It's strange. Well, anyway. Here we go with the Nuln Oil. And I'm going to put this. I see the Nuln Oil right there. Well, hopefully it was this pot that wasn't too full. If you see the other one, then, oof, I'm struggling. So I'm just going to put this on all the silver, all the gold, and all the brown parts. And I'm going to try to let it run off onto the black parts over here. It was that pot. Okay, good. I don't know where my full pot went. I'm going to just get it all down here on the gold. And getting it on the black is a good idea because it will dull the finish of this black. And so it won't look so glossy. Just going to get some on the halo there. And the same on the back. I'm not doing this on the bronze details. You will notice I have a different color for that. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to do the blade, swiping up to prevent puddles. And then swiping down. And then right back up. Clear the puddle created from the reverse side. Alrighty, and then I'm going to get the belts here. Whatever these things are called. I'm calling them prayer beads. And I'm going to get this. Sconce or whatever it is. And then I'm going to dip my brush way down in the bottom to this empty container. I'm going to get this scabbard, or holster rather. Did someone do the buy one drink one? Yeah, maybe someone did do the buy one drink one. Because it is, well, here's the holder for it. Is it right here? Yeah, it's right here. Son of a gun. I've spilled some brown paint on it at one point, so it looked like Agrax Earthshade from far away. Oh, well. Now that I'm done with it, I found it. Thank goodness. So I just put that all over the brown, the gold, and the silver. Now I'm going to do the same thing with Fireslayer Flesh all over the brass parts of the miniature. First, I'm going to check the time. 1:41, right on schedule. Just going to do this over all the brass parts. Just so we get some more contrast on these bits, both literally and figuratively. Can never have too much contrast. Again, literally and figuratively. Alright. Got a tiny bit more brass right here. Okay, I think that's all the brass. Just grab the pommel. Alright. So then, just to give our parchment / tabard a little bit more time to dry, I'm going to do the red. And I'm just going to do this on the seal parts of the purity seals and the marine's eyeballs. So I'm going to do it there. Do it here. I know there's another one. Oh, it's on his arm. And then his eyeballs. Eyeballs, you just got to be really careful. The contrast helps a lot, but you still just got to be really careful and just line it in there. Alright. That looks good. Blends in a little with the thing on his head, but I think that's looking good. Alrighty, now I'm going to highlight the tabards and the parchment. Actually, you know what? I keep saying I'm going to do that, but I'm not. I'm going to go with Steel Legion Drab, and I'm going to highlight the belt holster, or the pistol holster, rather, on his belt, and the belt itself. So I'm just going to do a rough edge highlight on these things. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly uniform because I'm assuming it's leather, and leather comes from a natural process known as a cow. Yes, that's right, the process of the cow. You heard it here first. And so if it's a little irregular, no big deal. Alright, now I'm going to overbrush the parchment and tabards, and for that I'm using Wraithbone. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the skeleton, but we're going to leave a little bit more showing of this undercoat. So just like that. Just want little lines, little sections, leaving some of the shadows in, but highlighting it. Just like that. And then like this. Get some more paint up there. And then for the tabards, we're just going to go down like this, leaving all this shade we put in here on the darkest spots. And then same for below the belt here. You just want to do it on the raised areas, leaving some of our yellow in the shadows. And as I will always say with stuff like this, that is probably made of cloth, you want to try to move your brush in one direction, because cloth has a weave. Weaves do not often change direction. So keeping your brush moving in one direction will help you achieve the cloth look. And I should say, when I say direction, I don't just mean always up or always down or always left or always right. This is a direction. this is a direction. So you can go up and down, back and forth in the same plane. You just don't want to have multiple planes impacting the item you're painting. That's when you can have a problem, and it either A, not look like cloth, or B, look like somebody painted this instead of it trying to look realistic. So I'm just gonna do the same thing we've been doing down here on the tabard. Just clean that bit up a little bit. And then on these purity seals, if that's what they are, just a little tap of that in there. Get the other side, and then I'll get the one on his arm. And then I think we might be done. This might be the last detail we do on this guy. And then we'll get to the surprise. Just doing the overbrushing up here. Okay. Just double checking everything. I think I'm going to go in and highlight the bronze with a little bit of gold and do the pistol holster detail in gold. So I'm going to grab my Retributer Armor. Are you going to put something on his shoulder shield? Yes, I am. Thank you for that. I meant to do that. I'm going to put the... I've just been putting a horizontal or a vertical stripe on them. So I will do that with him also. Also, this shoulder pad needs to be yellow. So I forgot all about shoulder things, apparently. Just highlighting this bronze winged thing with a little... couple little tap highlights. Same with this stuff. Gold is, at least in our modern time, is usually, well, when you get things that are gold and they were made by hand, they're often not a perfect surface. Gold is very, very, very easy to work with because it's soft, but also difficult to work with because you can leave surface imperfections very easily. And so by tap highlight, I just mean I'm literally just tapping onto the miniature, because there might be a surface imperfection that causes the light to bounce a certain way, bounce differently than it might on the piece right next to it even. So just tapping, not worried about getting every edge or every line or anything like that. All right. I'm going to do, I'll do the shoulder shield first. For that, I'm going to use my go-to white, which is Reaper's Vampiric Highlight. Just going to put a little bit on this little palette here. Then I'm going to flip the guy upside down, as I always do when I'm freehanding. And I'm just going to go right in the middle here and go straight up. I'm going to start with a skinny line and then work my way out. And flipping back around. Trim out the edges. And we'll call that done. Then I think the last thing, only thing we have left to do is the yellow shoulder pad right there. And a tiny little bit of touch-up I just saw. I'm going to pull out the rust gray, which is our second base coat of our armor. I'm just going to grab this little bit there. That's better. All right, now we're going to do the yellow shoulder pad. Then we'll touch up the base from where these things clamped it. And we'll be done. I'm going to get this. As you can see, I've been doing a decent amount of yellow. So what I'm going to do for this yellow is I'm going to grab some Averland Sunset. As you can see, it's quite chunky. If you tried to paint with this, you would have a terrible time. I'm just going to get a good old chunk of it and put it on the palette. In this case, the back of a tuft container. Just put that on the palette. Rinse off my brush. And then I'm going to go into my Eandon Yellow contrast. And instead of using a water or a medium to thin down this yellow, I'm going to use the contrast paint. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of it, put it next to this Averland Sunset here. Probably need a good amount. And then I'm going to just put my brush in the water and then mix these two together. And this will give us a nice smooth yellow color that I can apply directly to the shoulder pads, and in one coat get yellow coverage all over this blue. So let's do that right now. So I'm just going to load up my brush with this stuff. I'm going to load it up pretty good, as you can see. Probably more than you should, but it's a 20-cent brush, so who cares? And then I'm just going to paint directly onto this blue here. Just looking for a nice even coat of the yellow. Go right up to the edge of our Agrax Earthshade panel liner. Just so we do get a line between the yellow and the blue. And there you go. Smooth yellow right over the dark blue, medium blue, in one coat. That's what I like to see. It's the good stuff right there. So I think that's it. I think he's done. So I'm going to take him off here, and then we'll move to the surprise. I'm just going to... Yep, his base looks good. So that's him. I'm just going to put him over here, and then I am going to, hopefully, move the camera. Stand up without knocking the camera over. And then move the camera to reveal the fact that the entire box is now done. And there it is. It's been many hours of my life over the past few weeks, but it is now done. And now I can finally sleep. Alright, so that's it. Thank you everybody for watching. This is the last Indomitus stream that we'll be doing. I will be back on Monday. I'm not sure what I'll be streaming yet. I'll be streaming painting something. Not from the Indomitus box, probably. Or, you never know, I might get a wild hair and I might decide to paint some purple bikes. We shall see. But thank you everybody for watching. There will be a basing tutorial up on the YouTube channel this Saturday. Maybe Sunday. And, yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.